Hey, thank you for being here, everybody. We're going to give it just a second, um, and then we're going to start this live broadcast. I'm super excited to be here. Go ahead, if you are watching with us live or later, will you please comment where you're from? It's always so fun to get comments, and I'd love to respond to them later as I can. I won't during the devotional just because then I'll be distracted, which I get distracted easily. So, but please feel free to comment and and just let me know you're listening. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to start by telling you a story. And it's a pretty funny story. So, when my husband and I were dating, we've been married about 10 years. So, 10 years ago, I was ordering some glasses through an online shop. And I got these glasses, and they seemed a little bit different than my prescription. And like the glasses, they were super thick. And look, these are my glasses now. I even got them on to show you. Like these are pretty big, right? But the ones the ones that I got, they were so thick and they were so big. They were grandpa glasses. And bless my husband's heart, I walked around in those glasses all the time, in these big honking grandpa glasses. And he kept saying, maybe you should be able to see better than you do. And I thought, well, I mean, they look a little different than the ones I thought I ordered, but what the hey? Well, it wasn't until, I don't know, like a month that I realized the company had sent me the wrong glasses. They had sent me someone else's prescription and someone else's grandpa design. I say grandpa design. I shouldn't say that. That's not politically correct. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the big round glasses. And I had been this whole time, I'd been using these glasses that, first of all, I looked crazy in because they were like this thick and I couldn't see very well in. Um, I want to tell you that today what I want to talk about, what I want to focus on because of my mission, and that is that I want you to see yourself as God sees you and as I see you and how I strive to see you. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to get there on this one. I'm trying to get there on how I see other people. Thank you for people. People are commenting and I'm slightly distracted, but I love it. I love knowing that people are here. So please keep doing it. It's all right if we get a little distracted, right? Today I'm going to talk about seeing people and I'm going to talk about seeing yourself. First, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Julie Lee, and I am a native of Springville, Utah. And someone already that's commented knows me from Springville, Utah as a kid. Uh, I have two beautiful children. Sam is 5 and Lydia is 4. My husband's name is Rob, and we've been married, like I said, about 10 years. And we love our life. Our marriage has not been one of perfect ease like anybody's is, right? Nobody's is like that. We've been through quite a bit together. We've had a lot of struggle, a lot of overcoming and challenges, and we really love each other for it, for the place that we're at now. I started a podcast. I host a podcast called I See You, and I started that about 2 years ago. And this year, I was contracted to write a book through Cedar Fort Publishing, and so in September, I published this book. It's called I See You: How Compassion and Connection Save Lives. And that is what I am all about. Is I am all about compassion and connection and seeing people for who they are, and those people include us. I also am a speaker, and I just love to meet people. I love to connect people. I've been people crazy since I was little. So today I want to talk to you more about that. So because this is a Christian devotional, which I'm excited about, I love the opportunity to be able to speak so freely about my convictions that make up so much of who I am. But not every setting, that's the appropriate setting for that. And so thank you for this opportunity. I would say to the administrators of this page, it's incredibly freeing for me to be able to speak so boldly about what I believe. I entitled this devotional, The Eyes of the Lord. At least I think that's what I said, right? Someone correct me in the comments if I didn't. Because I want to talk about how Christ sees us and how he expects us and hopes we'll see other people. So there's the famous verse in the New Testament. It's in Mark 12, and it's verse 30. And this is what it says. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. So we know the first one, love God. Now his second. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other greater commandment than these. So what's interesting to me about this scripture is the part that I usually focus on personally is love your neighbor. But it's during some really dark points in my life when it was very difficult for me to feel love for myself, which always affects how effectively you can love your neighbor. I really focused on those two words, as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And I started wondering, can I truly love people the way that the Lord wants me to if I don't love myself? And I will submit to you that while I think we can sure try, I do not believe, someone can try and prove me wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. I don't think we can love other people as effectively if we don't love ourselves first. So I want to talk about how Christ sees us, because if we want to see how the Lord sees people, we have to see ourselves that way. In Romans, if you have your scriptures, you can pull them out. I'm going old school here. I have even the paper edition. What is this? Paper scriptures, you guys. They still exist, it turns out. Okay, Romans chapter 8, verse 35 and 37. And this is going to talk about how Christ feels about us. So this is kind of laying our foundation. And I love this. It gives me chills. It makes me weepy. This is the question it says, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Who? Shall tribulation of distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? Sorry, I'm just Xing out of a message here. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. We are more than we are more than conquerors through him that loves us. There is nothing that can separate us from the love of Christ. It just is. It's like oxygen, you guys. You can't do anything to make it so there's not air around for you to breathe. The love of Christ, I have learned in my own experiences, is the same. It just is. No matter whether we believe it, no matter whether we believe it's there, it's still there. Even if you don't believe in a God, he's still there. And I have come to know that through my own experiences. Perhaps you have as well. There's a quote that I love in the movie The Count of Monte Cristo. And the Count says to his buddy in jail, who's this wise old man, he says, I don't believe in God. You've probably heard people say that, right? I don't believe in God. Sometimes I think we get a little too smart too big for our britches, thinking, no, man, we have it figured out. I don't believe in God. And the old wise man, he says in response to the Count, he said, it doesn't matter. He believes in you. And I believe that, you guys. There's an analogy I love that reminds me of our worth to Jesus Christ and to God. And the analogy is it's a diamond ring. So we're going to look at my wedding ring. And this isn't my real wedding ring because I lost my ring 2 years after we were married. And it still makes me sad to talk about. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. But I want you to think about a diamond ring, or a CZ ring, as the case may be. Whatever it is, a shiny, sparkly ring. Maybe think of a diamond ring, actually, for this analogy. Let's backpedal it a little. Yeah, a diamond ring. I lose my diamond ring 2 years into our marriage. And I searched everywhere for it, you guys. I had fallen asleep on the couch at my sister's house, and I swear I had just set it on the shelf in a bookcase right next to the couch. And I wake up, you guys, and I can't find it anywhere. And we scavenged the house. My sister, her kids helped me. I bribed my nieces and nephews. I don't remember what I bribed them with. Something. I told them, I was like, I will give you the biggest pink candy bar you can pick out if you can find my stinking wedding ring. We never found it. I want you to ask yourself, what if I found that ring in the trash? What if I found it in the garbage disposal? What if my niece or nephew as a baby had swallowed my ring and I found it in their diaper? You know what I mean? What if? Do you think there's nothing I wouldn't do to take that ring, put it under some hot water and soap, and scrub off all the gunk off it? Would that diamond that my husband sweetly picked out when he was 23 years old and designed for me, his soon-to-be bride, would it mean less to me? Would it hold value because of where I found it? Because I found it in the gross, nasty trash with rotten bananas over it and chicken juice and all sorts of other things? Or heaven forbid, in a pile of crap? Would it mean less to me? It wouldn't. I wouldn't care. I would not care. That is how Christ feels about us. I don't care what you're into or what mistakes you've made. I don't care if you have an addiction to alcohol, if you have an addiction to pornography, to masturbation. I don't care. Christ will find us where we are at, and he will scrub us clean until we feel whole again. That's what Christ is all about. He is about seeing us as we are, as divine human beings with unmeasurable potential. I want to tell you a little bit of my own personal history. I'll try not to make it too long because it's a story. It's quite a story, and we all have them, right? That's what I love so much about podcasting is I met all of these people who have these amazing stories. When I was little, I grew up in a home with a father who really struggled with mental illness. And you have to understand, and maybe you already do, that at this time, mental illness was not talked about. It wasn't discussed in public a lot. It was kind of, at least from my perspective as a child, it was a more shameful thing. We're getting better and better at that, huh? Well, it was a secret that our family kept for the most part. And it was something that I felt a lot of shame over and just a lot of unhappiness about, as I had seen how much it had affected our family growing up. Especially my father, he struggled from severe depression for years and years, and he carried a very heavy load. It was hard to be around that sometimes. Despite his efforts, my parents are good people who really wanted to do the right thing. There just was not the kind of resources then that we have today. And so, as you can imagine, when I met my husband and I started my own family, I was very excited to start a home where we were free of depression, where I didn't even ever want to say that word again, to be honest. And then I got married when I was 19. I was a baby, little baby girl getting married. And then when I was 21, about a year and a half into our marriage, I experienced my first panic attack. And there was nothing like that for me. I'd seen my dad have panic attacks, and I swore that will never happen to me. Never. I've always been happy. I've always been outgoing. I've always been a hard worker. Surely I would make it so I would never get depressed. That's what I told myself. And the panic attacks didn't stop. And they went on long enough that they spiraled into a real dark, deep depression. And I battled with it for years. All through my 20s. I just turned 30 years old this year. And I would get on and off medication and in and out of therapy, and it wasn't until I really started digging deep into some of my childhood trauma and also being at peace with the idea that I will probably be on medication permanently, you guys, and it's okay. Like, it doesn't even matter to me anymore. It's crazy to me that it used to matter, because it doesn't now. Because I know where my stewardship lies, and that's taking care of my little babies, you know? There was a point during this that you need to understand. I was in my bathroom. We had a little master bath in our old house. It was real little. And my son was 2 at the time, and my little girl was about 6 months old, and they were sitting in the living room. And I would go in my bathroom, and think this is when things were real bad, and I would turn on the fan so they couldn't hear me sob. And I would close the door, and I would lie on the bathroom floor with my hands outstretched across the floor. So I was about touching the tub, and I would just lay my face on that nasty, dirty tile. Just collapsed. And I would beg God to take it away. I would beg for him to heal me. I felt like I had done everything I was supposed to. I had checked the boxes of what I thought it meant to be a good Christian girl. In fact, I said to God, I know you can heal someone. Because there's this story in the Bible, God, and there's this woman, and she has this issue of blood for 12 years. And she uses all these different resources like I'm using. I'm using medication, I'm using therapy and all these things. I think she probably went to a lot of doctors, a lot of medicine people to try to heal herself, and nothing worked. That is what desperation looks like. And after 12 years, she heard that Jesus was walking through the streets, and she came and she reached out and she touched his robe. And in that moment, she was healed. And Christ tells her that it was her faith that healed her. So that's what I told God. I said, listen, I have seen you do this in the Bible. I know you can do it. And like that woman with the issue of blood, I need you to come down right now, Jesus. I need Jesus to appear before me right now. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to touch his cloak, and you're going to heal me. Okay, God, I have the faith. I have all the faith. And you know what, guys? I think I really did. I had all of my beliefs and pent-up suffering in this one desperate moment. Well, not one. There were many a desperate moment. But this one that I remember in particular, when I physically was stretching out my hands, waiting for Christ to come so I could touch his robe. And he didn't come. He didn't come, you guys. And it took a lot for me to peel myself off that floor and to go and face my children and to play Candyland with them and to sing songs with them until I could take another break to duck in the bathroom and sob again, because I was in so much misery from just this uncontrollable anxiety and depression. There was another time. So in that moment, I didn't feel seen by God, right? I didn't feel like he saw me, he knew who I was. Why didn't he come? Well, it wasn't too long later that I was sitting in my kitchen, and I was writing in my journal, and my son walked by. He's 2 at the time. This is the same summer. I call it my summer of hell. And at that age, they're not like making really great complete sentences, but you try to like pretend like you can understand them, right? Well, he was walking by and he was just mumbling like he did. And finally I realized he was trying to talk to me, and he would say, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I was journaling, and I had my hand over my face so that he couldn't see me crying. Because I wasn't going to affect my kids, right? The way that I was affected growing up. I was not going to let them know the psychological hell I was in. Not gonna let that happen in my home. He says, Mom, Mom, Mom. He's tugging on me. And finally I wipe away my tears and I say, Sam, what? And he looks at me, and as clear as day, he says to me, Mom, Jesus loves you. And then he walked away, bumbling whatever it was he was talking about before. Christ was not going to come and heal me. He was not going to appear before me for me to come and touch his robe, although that's what I wanted so badly, was for him to take it all away. But he wanted me to know for dang sure that he did see me. And I sat at that kitchen table and I looked up towards the ceiling. And I got teary like I am now, because I knew that someone was seeing me. Someone was making sure that I knew that while he wasn't going to take it all away the way I wanted to him to, like sometimes you hear people talk about, we know that God heals people. He does. He intervenes. But he was going to heal me in a different way. And he has. He has truly healed me. And the way he's done that is I used to be someone that absolutely despised, loathed, hated myself because of my struggles and my mental health. And I am now someone that absolutely loves and adores myself, including that struggle. That is the miracle of Jesus Christ. And it is no less miraculous than the woman with the issue of blood. Christ sees us. And I don't know about you, but in the fast-paced, never enough world that we live in, what greater miracle can we have than to really feel true love for ourselves? I don't think that's a widely spread talent that most people have. That is what it means, I believe, when he says, love your neighbor as yourself. He wants us to feel that for ourselves so that we know how to extend it to other people. And he doesn't want just that. He's not done with us there. He's not done with us just feeling like knowing that he loves us. He wants us to become the most powerful people we can be so that we are the more capable beings to share that love with other people. In other words, I like to say he wants us to find our superpower. He wants us to be powerful. We all have God-given gifts. And we all have life experience, good and the bad. And we all have one thing in common. Our gifts are different, our experiences are different, but the third component of what it takes to make a superpower is the same. And that's Jesus Christ. So we have that one figured out. We all have Jesus. Whether we love him or not, whether we recognize him in our life or not, we all have him. And then we have God-given talents, life experiences. How do you create a superpower? How do you live your superpower that you are more mighty to invite people to Christ? I wrote a children's book many a year ago. And let me move the Bible. The Bible's more important than the children's book. I'll have you know I wasn't saying that. I wrote a children's book and it's called Broccoli Punzel. And it's a very interesting book because I wrote it long before I ever had my mental health struggles. Just wait. It's going to be big. So in this book, there's this princess. Her name's Broccoli Punzel, and she has broccoli for hair, which is crazy and just ridiculous. And what was the author thinking when they decided that? I don't know. Someone ask her. She has this broccoli for hair, and she hates it. She wants to be like a normal princess. She wants to be like the pictures she sees in the corridor of the long, blonde, beautiful hair that Rapunzel has. And so one night she's complaining about it. She's complaining about how she's always having to trim the moldy ends. She even has to sleep in the fridge once a week. She hates her hair. And a fairy godmother shows up. See, this is a fractured fairy tale. So there's pieces of lots of other fairy tales in it. Her fairy godmother shows up. And she's like, you know what? I'm still listening to your whining. I'm here to intervene. What do you want? Do you really want to be rid of your hair? Because it's broccoli, and that's different. Do you really want to be just like everyone else? Princess is like, well, of course I do. So the fairy godmother thinks about it, and she says, okay, on one condition, I will fix your hair, but I want you to take a day to think about it. I want you to take a day to think about it. So she says, okay. Well, the next day, she is walking down Yellow Brick Avenue, and she meets this man. She meets this homeless man, and he looks hungry. And she goes into her satchel for some food to give him. And instead she finds scissors. She doesn't remember putting scissors in there before. She takes out the scissors, and she starts clipping some broccoli florets from her hair, and she gives it to the man. And he just weeps. He feels seen. someone is seeing him. He's felt so ignored sitting on the side of Yellow Brick Avenue. And someone noticed him. And not only did they notice him, they filled a need. Well, in the end, that night, the fairy godmother comes back and she says, do you want what you said last night? Do you really want me to get rid of your hair? And Broccoli Punzel, she says, no, I want to keep it. Today, for the first time in a long time, I was able to help someone with my hair. And that felt so good. I want to keep it because I was able to help someone else with it. Now, what's interesting about this story is I did school assemblies where I would present on this and I talk about self-acceptance. And it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I sat in my kitchen and I said to my best friend, I said, wait a second. I'm just realizing something. And she said, what? And I looked at my book, Broccoli Punzel, and I said, this isn't a book about a girl with broccoli for hair. My best friend just sat there and I said, this is a book about me. This is my story of hating this thing about myself. My depression, my anxiety, my struggle with my mental health, and how I have found a way to channel that to help other people. And how now I'm not angry that I haven't been healed from that susceptibility. And she, of course, like a good friend, was like, you just figured that out? I was like, yes, it only took me however many years. Do you find yourself like Broccoli Punzel sometimes? Are there things that have happened in your life that you feel some self-loathing about? Maybe they're even your own mistakes. Do they give you a different perspective? Is your story anything like mine? And can you channel it to be a more powerful human being, to see others, seeing people the way Christ sees them? Remember, God-given gifts. What are you good at? What's a talent you have? I feel like I'm good at connecting with people, so that was mine. Life experience. What's your experience? What's your mistake? What's your perspective? Can you combine that with a talent you have? And third, Christ. Can you lean on him a little more? Can you make a superpower? I want to tell you, as you're thinking about that, a couple examples of people that are living with their superpower to see others with Christ in mind. Some of you might know from my book, or probably a lot of other places. So the foreword of my book is written by a man named Tim Ballard. And Tim Ballard is the founder of a nonprofit called Operation Underground Railroad. And if you don't know anything about it, gosh, check it out. I can't think of a more worthy cause to support. So Tim's story is he worked for Homeland Security for the United States, and he specifically was assigned to work on like child sexual crime cases. I hope that's how you say it. And he started finding out some pretty dark, deep secrets in our world. And he decided to leave his job and to start a nonprofit, which is called Operation Underground Railroad. That name was inspired because of what Harriet Tubman did during the civil rights. Not the civil rights movement. You know what I mean. During slavery stuff. Now I just look like an idiot, you guys. Just someone fact check me here. Please write in the comments what the year was when Harriet Tubman was doing the Underground Railroad, okay? Tim named it this because he decided that now that he knew as much as he did, he found out all of this child sex trafficking was going on in all of these countries. And they were being covered up. They were orphanages, pretending to be orphanages, when really they were spots for people to buy and sell children for sex. Can you imagine a more ugly, satanic work in the world? And Tim said, screw it. I'm going to start saving these kids' lives, and I'm going to start letting the world know what's actually going on and how prevalent this is. Tim says that the sex trafficking industry is 3 times more powerful than the NFL. They have 3 times the amount of money as the NFL. Tim took natural talent he has. He's a tough guy. He knows a lot. He's driven. He has a natural drive and ability. And he combined that with a life experience. He learned about these kids and he said, I'm going to do something about it. He is also an avid believer of Christ. And what did he make? He made a superpower. He started Operation Underground Railroad, and he continues to save children all around the world and to imprison the people that would sell them. There's another human being I want to tell you about their superpower. My niece Marin, she just turned 13 years old, and she has a rare genetic disorder, and it's called Louise-Dietz syndrome. Now Marin, she can't do everything other kids can do. She can't wear the cutest shoes sometimes. It's a connective tissue disorder. It can hurt her feet easily. She's always having to go in for these really hard MRIs. She's incredible. She can't do the kind of physical activity. She can't do impact sports because it could stop her heart. She has so much to think about. She wrote this for her 6th grade essay. Let me read it to you guys. It says, if I were a superhero, I would have the power to heal the sick and injured. I would go to the hospital every week and heal everyone I could. I love my powers so much, but at the same time I hate them because sometimes I can't always save everyone because there's only one of me and millions of them. I'm Miracle Girl, and I hope I will always do good for this world and everyone in it. I want to help others live up to their full potential. In my heart, I will always think of myself as Miracle Girl. Marin, she took her love for people. She combined it with her life experience, right? A lot of time in hospitals. That compassion. And she prays for opportunities to see other people, especially those kids in hospitals. And she's a superhero for sure, right? You can all call her Miracle Girl now, if you know who that is. I'm super proud of her. So you figure out your superpower. Now you get to see people. You get to go back to that verse in Mark 12:31. Love thy neighbor as thyself. We have as thyself figured out. Not only do we have it figured out, but we're powerful. We know how to serve people. We know what we can do to save people. Now it's time to do it, to love one another. I remember a time when I was discouraged and I was just feeling like not enough in every venture I was trying. And I went to a place to ponder and to pray with God. And I had a really distinct impression as I was feeling so down on myself. And that impression was this: Julie, you are awesome. You are awesome. That made me feel good, right? I was kind of like, okay, I got it, God. And then it came with this very, very important phrase after it. And so is everyone else. See, that's when pride is a problem. That's when pride becomes the pride that we know is one of the worst sins, right? It's when we think we're awesome and we put down other people. It is not pride to know how awesome you are, to know your divine worth with God, because then you can take that and you can see that every other single person on this planet has that same potential as you do. That's what seeing people is all about. You look at them and you know that they're a child of God, and you know that they are powerful and they have just as much ability as you to become strong, deep, convicted followers of Christ. And if they haven't found Christ, it's okay. Act like him, and they'll be finding him in their own way. I love the history of television because it can change the way that we think about other people. We started out with black and white TV and we were excited about that. And then we went to color TV and that was so exciting. And then we went to something called high definition TV. And that just blew our minds. Everything was more vibrant, more real. It felt like when you watched television in front of you, you were there. It was almost like a home video, like you were right there. Especially in Avatar. If you guys have seen the movie Avatar, that's the one I always think of with high definition television. I think that we can see people in a similar way as we can watch television. We can look at people and situations in black and white, good or bad, not complicated. We can take it a step further and maybe see them in a more Christ-like way, which is adding that compassion. Looking at what makes them make the decisions they do. I wonder if they're having a hard time. And then an even more elevated way of thinking, and this is how I believe Christ sees us. I wonder if I could relate to that person. I wonder if they have anything to offer me, and you connect with them. I think about the woman caught in adultery before Christ, and the people, they came and they threw her before him, and they said, this woman was caught in adultery. What did Christ do? Did he think in black and white? Oh, she's bad. Yep. This is what the law says. Stone her. No. Christ, in my opinion, is the greatest champion of high definition thinking, of not thinking about people in black and white. He said, if any of you have a stone, cast it. If any of you without sin have a stone, cast it. And they all walked away because, of course, like us, none of us are perfect. And then he got down on the ground and he started writing in the sand. And he asked her, woman, where are thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She says, no man. He says, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. The people around us deserve Christ-like unconditional love from his servants. So when you see that angry driver, at least I get angry drivers a lot on the road because I'm not a very good driver, and it's not on purpose. I'm not like a good enough driver to purposely be mean to other people on the road, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just surviving. When I see that angry guy in the road and he gives me the finger and the F-bomb and says all sorts of things I don't understand that I have to come and tell Rob about, and he'll tell me what they actually mean, I can look at him in black and white and I can say, he's a jerk. I would never be like him. He's the worst. What a jerk, right? Or, I'm hoping my kids didn't hear me say jerk through the walls. We don't say that in our home. Or, can I look at him instead of seeing him in black and white? Can we see him in color? Can I add some compassion and think, I wonder if he just came from the hospital of losing a loved one. I wonder if he just had a fight with his parents. I wonder if he's got a terminal illness. All of a sudden, things don't feel so black and white. And I think I'm thinking a little more in reality. I think that's how people are seen by Christ. Now, high definition thinking, taking it a step even further, trying to be more like Jesus Christ, I think, would be, if you had the opportunity, hey, I bet he has something he could offer me. I bet he has perspective. I bet he has something to add to this world. And I can relate to him. I can connect with him, right? Compassion and connection. I want you to know that we are all needed. Christ needs us. We are his body. I love the story of the Grinch who stole Christmas. I'm all full of stories tonight, apparently. I love stories. In the Grinch, he's this green, hairy misfit, and he goes up into his cave and he stays there, and he hates Christmas and he hates the Who's, these Christmas fanatic community that lives under him. He lives up on Mount Crumpet and he's just grumpy all the time. And sometimes I feel like the Grinch and I want to just go up in my cave, do my thing, separate myself from the community and other people and all the stimulus, right? I think, and I don't mean being an introvert. I mean, sometimes I think we can get a little like survival of the fittest. Stop connecting with people because, I don't know, we can look at our phones more. It's easier. We have a screen in between us. We're just super disconnected in this age, which is so crazy because with technology, we can connect more than ever now. But I think sometimes if we're not careful, it can create a problem where we don't connect to people in real life. I kind of think of us like the Grinch. I kind of think of Grinch like Gandhi, let's be honest. Maybe not quite like Gandhi. That's a little like blasphemous. But he's a great teacher to me. Because what does he do? He goes down and he steals Christmas. He's thinking really in black and white, the Grinch is. And then he goes up to his mountain and he's sitting there and he's waiting to hear the Grinches cry the next morning because their Christmas is gone. And he hears them singing. And he stops and he's like, I mean, Dr. Seuss doesn't say it like this, let's be honest. But what I think he's thinking is, man, the Who's aren't who I thought they were. He starts thinking a little in color, like having some compassion for, wow, they're a little better than I thought. And then high definition thinking. Not only does he see them with compassion, he goes back. He brings back, he tries to I was going to say cover up his wrong, not cover up his wrong. He tries to right his wrong. And then he engages with them. He relates with them. High definition thinking. We are not so different, you and I. Are you like the Grinch? Do you sometimes feel like a green hairy misfit in this world and you don't want to engage with Whoville? You don't want to engage with other people. Maybe sometimes you don't want to engage with people that don't believe in Christ like you do. But I want you to know that you're needed down here in Whoville. You are needed. And Christ is a champion for us all, and he wants you to see people the way that he sees them. You don't have to hold back any of that compassion. Compassion has no hard edge. That's what I'm learning. Helen Keller has this incredible quote. And she says this. She says, I love this quote because I feel overwhelmed by all that needs done in the world, right? Operation Underground Railroad, hungry children. Like there's just so much that needs done. And you know this better than anyone. Well, better, whatever. You know this. None of us are Jesus Christ. He is the one that can fix all this. We cannot. But we can be his hands and make sure that other people feel seen, that they're noticed. This is what Helen Keller says, and this gives me comfort. This is how we see people. She says, I long to accomplish a great and noble task, but it is my chief duty to accomplish small tasks as if they were great and noble. It is not all up to you and I to make sure people are seen. Christ, he's in charge of that, and he's got that under control. But man, can he use our help? Because most people haven't seen Christ. Some people have, but most haven't. But they can see you. And they can see whether you're looking at them in the face, whether you notice they're even there. How are we thinking about people? Are we thinking about them in black and white? Dare I say Democrat or Republican? Or are we thinking about them in color, with compassion, with understanding? Are we even striving for high definition seeing? Relating to them as a fellow human traveler in life, doing the best they can. I think God's got good things in store for this world. Thank you for joining me and for exploring a little bit with me of what I think it means to see as the Lord sees. And like I said, if you want to comment, I'm going to go and respond to all the comments, and I'll also leave my website. And of course, you're welcome to come on my personal Facebook page and get in touch with me. God bless. Thanks for being here, guys.